like to present Geet Pradhan and how to train your detection dragon.
Hey guys, can you hear me? Okay? Yep. Give me a shout from the back if you can hear me. I know it's early. One more time. All right, awesome. I cannot see anyone, so that's why I'm saying shout. All right, well, good morning, everyone. Welcome to B-Sides. My talk is called How to Train a Detection Dragon. Now, I hope people have seen the movie, right, because it's a great movie. Movies, and as a TV show, I think. But before I begin, I wanted to just thank B-Sides for having me here. It's 15 years, apparently, which is huge. So props to B-Sides. Thank you for organizing this. In this talk today, I want to go through some of the things that I have learned while building out our detection response pipeline, right? You're going to expect quite a few dragons, right? Some memes here and there. And hopefully by the end of the day, end of the 45 minutes, you will leave with something, even if it's just my face or my voice talking to you. Cool. So, training the dragon is basically for everyone. But I understand there's a lot of different talks out here. For this talk, you do need a little bit of knowledge or just understanding about SecOps in general. I will go through the technical definition, but this is also something which I've been really focused on. This talk is great for someone who wants to set up a new detection pipeline or scale their pipeline, or even just you want to know what SecOps is all about, right? So who am I? This dragon is actually me. By the way, I don't have a lab coat, but I've been, I'm a security engineer at Lime. I've been in cybersecurity for over 7 years. I have some experience in SecOps, ProdSec, doing a little bit of everything. And I do like building 0 to 1 security functions. Now, what is detection response, right? Well, as this dragon is scarily telling you, it is basically identifying something, detecting something that's going wrong in your environment, and responding to it. According to me, I think detection response or SecOps is one of the cornerstones of security because you don't know what is going wrong unless you can detect it, and you don't know what you're going to do because you're going to have to respond to it. Now, detection response is easy, said no one ever, right? Now, as this meme says, there's always something happening. There's always a disparity between a security team and the number of new products, new tools that are out there. There's always a little bit of friction versus security team in the organization. Now, I don't know if any of you have solved that, but if you have, 12 o'clock, let's meet outside, teach me everything. There's also a really cool principle called the Goldilocks principle, which we'll get to later on. And unless you're, flush with cash, which some companies are, right? You can't just throw money at the problem and solve it. Before we get into this, I do want to set some expectations, right? Like, what does 0 to 1 really mean? In this particular case, we're working with a pretty functional tech stack. So something's already built out. When you're building out the detection pipeline, you're not always the first hire in the company. There's always a tech team or something has already been built out, right? There's quite a few log sources, complex log sources. There isn't always funding for new security tools because, you are the security tool, essentially. You're the first one. There's fewer security engineers, normally one, which is you, or a handful. And there's just quite a bit of manual processes involved. So I want you to keep those things in mind before we get into this, right? So yeah, this fire-breathing dragon is telling us to get to work. Now, for me, I think of detection as a 3-headed dragon, right? Fluffy in Harry Potter, but if it was a dragon. Where do I start? How do I scale? And how do I sustain? So let's look at each of these heads, and instead of slaying it, let's try to train it. So where do I start? So a couple of things which I faced, right, is what are the logs I need to ingest? Do I have to get all of them in? What are the alerts that I need to set up? Do I need to have 100% coverage everywhere? How do I notify me, my team, my response engineers, anyone? And do I really need to respond to everything, right? Now, the solution to this, whiteboard. This is something I did not do, right? It's a very simple solution, and a lot of you must be like, what are you talking about? Like, this is not the solution. It brings you to the solution, right? One thing which I wish I would have done is got these 4 tasks and be like, hey, I want to whiteboard this. Why is whiteboarding really effective in system design? There's lots of articles for that, but in detection response, it really helped me. Now, this diagram is what I think about when I say, hey, what is the detection pipeline in a nutshell? Sources, alerts or rules, notification, and then responding, right? Let's take a look at detection sources. Now, we have a lot of different ones. How do you know which ones to start with? What I did is a prioritization for ingestion, right? Now, this is different for each company, each situation, but some things that I have learned are it's not always you need to work with the rest of your teams, right? The most important, according to me, are the ones which also have compliance-specific impact, right? Because, look, a security incident happens, something goes wrong, but you don't want it to have cross-functional impact, especially if there is some sort of compliance related to it. I've given a few examples here of SOX, PCI, but there's quite a few, and it just depends on what you guys are running, right? Now, this should take most of the key systems out. So first, focus on these. There's also a small subset, which would be production or business-related systems, which are not under the compliance scope. Now, from my experience, that's a very small fraction, right? But if there are, right, for example, we have an internal app which does not really fall under compliance, but it is very important for production, right? Then you work towards those. Once you're done with those fun things, then you look at, hey, the cross-functional tier 1 systems. Then you talk to your sister teams or any other teams and be like, hey, what are you guys worried about? We have done all of this. We have maybe 10, 20 sources already ingested. What are your, P1s or like critical ones? Now, once you've done that, then you go to all other systems. And I can pretty confidently say, if you've reached this point, you've achieved a lot already. And the fourth point is basically, if you have any other systems that are not covered and you have time, bandwidth, resources, which is energy, money, and the will to survive, go get those. Cool. So now we've spoken about how to prioritize those, detection sources. We've ingested our compliance ones, our top ones. Now you're like, hey, Geet, okay, I have everything. I have all these logs, racking up a bill. I need to get something done. Okay, let's set some detection alerts. Now, this is where the Goldilocks principle comes in. Now, this meme, I don't know why it's a little messed up, but this is me when I was building this out every day, and I'm sweating right now as well. Do you alert on too many actions and get flooded? Or do you alert on too few and be like, yep, we're good, and then tomorrow there's an incident? The answer is not what you would expect, right? You don't need 100% coverage to win. Now, these are some really cool blog posts that I've read by Van Vliet. There's a lot of math involved. I've tried to understand a lot of it, but essentially what I took this and I thought about it from my perspective. I'm like, hey, I don't need to have 100% visibility into everything because it's impossible to manage and handle, especially if you're building out the pipeline. You probably don't have a huge team to respond to. So what do? Right? You step on eggshells. You set up anomaly detection rules, right? So you know how the standard processes for the systems that you're ingesting are. If you don't know, talk to those system owners. The easiest and the best solution that I can give you is have a conversation with the people who run those systems. Understand what they do, right? To give you an example, we alerted on GitHub, right? GitHub, and some teams were bypassing branch protection rules, and this was their standard process. We were like, hey, this is weird. Is this expected? They were like, yeah, no, this is what we do. Okay, cool. But this is not supposed to happen, right? So how do you improve those processes? We will get to that at the end. I would not have been able to set up my detection pipeline if I did not work with the system owners. Now, once you've understood that, then you alert on the big ones, right? The shady, malicious behavior where you can find those all over the internet. Now you'll ask me, Geet, okay, the internet is big, vast, and it scares me. Where do I find it? Well, you're lucky for you. Here's a few. So detection libraries by the beautiful security community out there have already been built out, right? These are just a few, and I do want to note it's not sponsored at all, that I have used to help me have a base, right? A foundation to start from, because it is very daunting. To build out your own security bank of alerts is insane. What I did is I actually took some of these and I'm like, okay, I want to start with one of them. The one that I chose was Sigma, right? Why did I choose Sigma? I think it's great. It's so friendly for developers. You can essentially write rules, edit them, and I don't know if you guys have used Sigma. Can you yell if you've used Sigma before? I can't see. You'll have to say something. Okay, cool, awesome. Sorry, this light's in my face. Yeah, so Sigma is amazing, right? And I can have a whole talk about Sigma, but there's a great talk by Alex Sinnott, who's a security engineer at Wise, who I think contributes to Sigma as well, on how to actually practically use them. I don't want to go into that right now, but if you've not checked it out, definitely check out Sigma rules. They're really adaptable. You can also tune them and write your own detections, right? So I prefer Sigma rules, and all the other ones that I said are also great to just get an understanding of what is the detection, visibility or security alerts that I need to put in. So this is a Sigma rule that we have. Hello Darkness and Geet is Lost obviously are not the ones that we use. I am lost, not gonna lie, but I did have to change it. This is a sample one that we have. It's really cool because you can just add whatever details you want, even response, playbook tasks, whatever it is. This is just a format of the Sigma rule. Okay, cool. Now we have the sources, we have the alert bank. Now you tell me, Geet, okay, now what? I don't know what to do next, right? You need to notify. How do I know what is going wrong? How do I know when an alert is hit? And I just, I'm lost. Fear not. The first thing I'm going to say is do not reinvent the wheel. Use the alerting platforms that you already have. Now, in this case, we have email, right? I hope everyone has email here. And we have Slack. Now, why should you use this? If you go back to the first slide, one of the things that I said was, you don't have additional tools or funding for tools, but you have email, you have Slack, you probably have some other things which are already working in your company. Why do you want to make it tougher for you and the company and introduce a new solution to alert on, right? Use Slack or Teams or whatever messaging platform you have, use email, and it just makes it a lot easier because in today's world, we're never just on our machine, right? We're always traveling and we want to see an alert quickly just on our phone, right? It does help, I guarantee it. Now you'll be like, hey, I don't want everything on email. I'll get like 10,000 emails a day. You're right. This is where you need to have some sort of notification schedule set up. So what we do is we have a severity mapping. Now this is a very, very common severity table. I'm sure most of you have probably seen it. If you haven't, it's essentially a way to sort out the alerts, right? Now, if there's a critical security event, a security alert that gets hit, we page. So PagerDuty is a great application that we use personally. It's great for paging. If it's an important notification which doesn't need me to wake up in the middle of the night, it's on Slack and we tag the person who's done it, and there's a couple of really cool features. Now, medium, low, we also use Slack channels, but we're not explicitly like, hey, look at this, look at this. We're not waking up our detection and response team. And if it's an informational, we're like, hey, we don't have the time to deal with this, unfortunately, right now. We'll get to it. Now I can sense a lot of people will be smiling at least at this. And I'm going to get to why I'm also smiling at this, because it comes up, and it's going to come up in the next time of like, okay, Geet, I have all these alerts set up, different priorities. I'm done. I'm set. How do I respond? Now, you set up all this notification schedule. Oops, sorry. You set up all this notification schedule. You have to respond in that way. Now, response playbooks are very important. Now, I don't want to go into how to build a response playbook and all that fun stuff in this talk, because we're talking about the detection dragon. The response dragon is very, very large, right? So we'll deal with that another time. But essentially, it's very varied, right? What we use is like, hey, if there's something really important happening, which we need all hands on deck, we'll have a Datadog incident. We use Datadog for incidents. Otherwise, it's this man on the left here, which is myself, saying, dude, we need to fix this ASAP, right? That does happen. And I'm not ashamed to say sometimes you do just need to DM someone and fix it. Especially if you're at this stage where you've not properly built out your pipeline, right? If you remember the previous chart about notification schedules, you also need a response schedule, right? Now, if it's a critical alert, you need to drop everything, right? If it's an informational, honestly, response may not be necessary, but it really depends on how you classify informational, high, medium, low, etc. What we do is, hey, if it's a high, you're tagged already, but you don't have to drop everything and look at it, but you need to look at it straight away. If it's a medium, every morning, spend a couple of, maybe an hour, maybe 2 hours just taking a look at it. If it's a low, maybe at the end of the week or start of the week, right? I would say start of the week because the weekend will have given you quite a few alerts to look at. So maybe Monday morning, do that. And if it's an informational, as I said, it really depends. A response may not be necessary. Now, you'll tell me, hey, okay, you've told me all these things, but you're not giving me anything. What are you going to give me? Now, I'll give you some gifts. There are quite a few response libraries also, right? Now, naming a few of these, I've used AWS One for a few of these things. Tines has an automation library, but it really helps to understand kind of how other people are doing it. And honestly, you just have to Google sometimes, right? How do you respond to something? I know it's gotten a lot easier with Gen AI to help you, which really helps us in this case because you don't really always need to build a response strategy. One thing I will note though here is do not just lift straight away. Lift it from these templates, which are free, but also make sure you actually carefully think about, hey, does this really apply, right? One of the things that I did, and my mistake was I lifted a response template straight away. Then I realized, okay, my team does not really look at emails coming in from a particular account. They don't need to because they get 1,000 every day. So what I did, I'm like, okay, I'm going to put those and change that response strategy and move it to Slack because we really look at Slack, right? And it really helped me. So take these strategies, but contextualize them to your business, to your environment, and kind of what works for you and your team, right? Now, the easiest way for me is just to add those response steps to the Sigma rule, right? Now, this is, if you look at the end here, the response playbook task. I don't know if I have a laser, but this is basically like, hey, how do I triage and respond to this, right? It's easy. Now, in the Sigma rule, everything you need for each and every detection alert, you can add a custom tag and just put it right there. You can also do it in your SIM. You can do it in your documentation. Whichever works for you, you can add it there, right? What I think is good if you're using Sigma rules is like, hey, you have it right there. So even if you look at the detection alert that gets hit, you can just reference what are the exact steps you need to do here, right? So this is the detection pipeline in a nutshell. And I've given a couple of examples of like, hey, some logs which are important, which kind of come under that scope. Detection alerts of, hey, maybe suspicious activity, things like that. Notification schedules and response. So this is basically how you build a detection pipeline. It is easy-ish, but it's not. Like once you start getting into this, when I started, I did not know, how to get my head up. I started building straight away. What helped me now is when I can go back and I'm like, hey, what I should have done is I should have whiteboarded this. I should have literally drawn on a piece of paper or a whiteboard if you have it, or on a virtual whiteboard. What are all these 4 phases and how can I tackle them? Why am I saying this? I'm saying this because one of the problems that I had is the pipeline that I'd built up essentially broke during the response side. I'm like, okay, I've already set this up. I've set up the alerts. Everything's going this way, but my team's not able to respond. Now, what I had to do is then I had to scale, right? So how do I scale it? How do I remove these false positives? Because I'm getting 1,000 alerts every day, and I want to sleep. I want to have a relatively normal functioning life. How do I prioritize these alerts that come that way? Because I'm not going to see each and every one, right? And am I expected to be awake all the time? Let's add some log enrichment. A log enrichment essentially just means adding some details so that we can properly contextualize and prioritize what we're looking at. Cool. So let's add some context. Now, this is a very relevant meme that happens to me all the time, right? Except there's no breach, it's just an important alert. How do I remove these false positives, right? You have to add a little bit of context. This is an example of what we've done when it comes to GitHub, right? We just added a little bit of context about the repository. Now this repository, hey, we're like, hey, are these repositories really important? Now, in this case, some are not. I don't want to be woken up in the middle of the night if the repository that we're talking about or the asset that we're talking about is not business critical. The reason is I just don't have time, right? And a lot of the things that you will realize as you build this out and scale it, you don't have time to respond to every alert straight away. You'll get back to it, right? So this is a kind of rough diagram we've done about, hey, look, an alert comes in, you just check if the repository A exists. Is there a level of importance to this repository? If there is, then triage it in the way it's supposed to be or even escalate it. If it's not, maybe we de-escalate for now and go back when you have some bandwidth. Now we've contextualized it, we've added a little bit of detail here. How do you prioritize these alerts? Like, Geet, okay, you've added context, there's still maybe not 1,000, there's still 500. You have to add some logic here, right? What we've done is we've added exceptions. Now, in this case, Hello Darkness is a Google admin, right? The Google admin is supposed to assign a role, right? If you look at this event name, supposed to assign a role. This is an intentional action, right? The business decides that Hello Darkness and Geet is lost are individuals who require this particular task. Now, I'm not saying this action is not weird, right? It is weird if they don't do it. Now, I know there's a whole train of thought of like, hey, what about insider risk? What about if they're really, if they're actually just being bad levers, right? My thought about that is, look, this is where the probability comes into it, right? Do you want to have false positives every single day about these people doing this? If so, okay, don't put the exceptions there, right? But this is a conversation and this is a decision that you yourself cannot make. Now, going back to the first point, you need to have this conversation with the teams who are doing this, right? One of the things that we saw was, a team who was administering Google, they were using their accounts for a couple of administrative actions. We saw the problem there. We were like, hey, I can add an exception, but that's really not going to help us because we're going to silence that alert, right? What we suggested were like, hey, can we use service accounts in this case? Can we try to find another way to identify or add some more priority in this, saying, hey, if you're doing it from location XYZ where you're supposed to be, you're living there, cool. But what if someone's taken over their account, right? What if there's anything which is a little bit anomalous, right? The decision we took was, hey, okay, until we can figure out a way to move everything to service accounts, right? Maybe we put a little bit of complexity on, okay, if Hello Darkness is doing it from San Francisco, there's a high possibility that this is this person's house. Now, again, I want to preface this by saying this is not the solution every single time. A lot of the times you do see alerts which are kind of silenced, but you definitely need to take a look at them. So I'm not saying mute the alert completely, right? Instead, what we've done is in the previous image and the one coming up, we have decreased the severity a little bit. What we've done is been like, okay, if it's a critical, don't wake me up in the middle of the night straight away. Send me a Slack, tag me, right? When you wake up, you do see it, and sometimes this does not solve every single problem. But when you're at this level and at this scale where you're probably the first or one of two people who's responding to this, you have to prioritize, and you have to give your team the benefit of doubt of saying, okay, this is your job, you do this for a living. I'm not going to falsely alert on this because it's going to cause you problems and it's going to cause me problems. Now, speaking about waking up in the middle of the night, we don't want that every single time, do we? I like my sleep. I'm sure a lot of you do too. So am I expected to be awake all the time? Short answer is sometimes, right? Sometimes you do need to be woken up in the middle of the night. What you need to do is set up that automation in place to remove a little bit of active involvement, right? During at least low-level triage. What I've done is, if anything happens, I will tag the person who's done it just because I want some context, right? Like, hey, in this case, Teddy volunteered to be in my screenshot. I'm like, hey, Teddy, did you mean to do this? Can you just provide some context, right? Now, does this eliminate the aspect of you being asleep or awake? No. But what it does do is, I'm based in London, Teddy is based in SF, right? By the time I wake up, Teddy's already given me some context about, okay, this is what I've intended to do. So then I can either escalate the alert, or de-escalate the alert, but I don't have to wait another 8 hours for Teddy to be awake, right? Because then essentially you're just wasting a lot of time. Another thing that it really helped us do is add quite a bit of visibility for these detection alerts. Now, whoever is on my team, if I'm awake, right? One of my team members is actually here. If I'm asleep and I'm on call and he's awake and he's not on call, he can at least see, okay, this is happening. It's a Slack channel. Teddy has provided some context, so I'm not going to wake him up. I'm not going to page him. I'm not going to just call him and say, Geet, I need help right now. I'll let him sleep, right? Does it happen all the time? I don't know. He doesn't let me sleep often, but it's something we found that works. The reason that it works is also the most important point. You have to talk to your other teams. You have to tell them, hey, this is what your business processes are. I'm going to alert on this, but this is what my process is. I'm going to tag you. I need you to add context because let's be honest, you're making them do a little bit more. You're adding maybe 3, maybe 5, maybe 10 seconds for them to take a look at this tag that they're getting on Slack and add maybe a sentence, 2 sentences, something. So you're adding to their work, right? This is where you need to talk to them and be like, all right, guys, Teddy and Teddy's team, I'm going to do this. This is what you need to do, right? Does it work always? Not always, but it really helps to have a transparent conversation. So going back to what I spoke about in the first few slides, you have to talk to your teams. Now, this is an example of the contextualization that I did. Just wait for the user to respond yes or no and add some context, what I showed you. And if so, oops, sorry about that. If so, you can at least relax a little bit at this scale, at this time, because you're one of a few people. Does this always work, and should you always just go to sleep? No. So how do you sustain, right? How are you able to sustain? How do I properly respond to cross-functional security alerts if it's sister team, sister org, or just someone somewhere in my company doing something? How do you add process complexity, right? How do you make sure whatever your company is doing, you convince people that, okay, I want to add something. I want to make sure, your task that you're doing, I'm going to add 3 seconds, 5 seconds, 10 seconds. And just proactive improvement, right? We're talking about reactive stuff, responding, reacting. How do I turn reactive improvements to proactive improvements? Because in the end, you're probably one of 2, one of 5 engineers, and you need to help your team, right? You need to help your security org just get better. So how do I properly respond versus just reacting to the alert? The first answer is cross-functional security champions. Now, this is a very debated topic in security. Do they work? Do they not work? For us, it's been just identifying security forward-minded people and just telling them, hey, if you find something in your team's purview, let us know, right? This is a problem which is not just in detection response, but it's security overall, right? You go to any of these rooms today, you listen to anyone, this is a topic which transcends SecOps, ProdSec, everything. So build out security champions, right? Have these people talk to their teams and be like, okay, security is doing this. This is now what we need to do. Because they already have the ear of these teams, right? You don't have to reinvent the wheel. You don't have to keep convincing someone. You convince someone on their team and you empower them to convince the others, right? This is where you have to have back and forth. And this is how you build trust within cross-functional teams. Have a yes and approach. Don't always say no, because security is thought of as the police, right? Hey, you're not supposed to do this. Okay, instead of that, just say, okay, you want to do something? Okay, add guardrail 1, 2, 3, 4. Oftentimes what you will see is people will react and respond, and they'll be like, okay, Geet and security, you're not telling me to stop doing this, which is great, and I'm happy, right? You're not being a police, you're being a collaborator. So, okay, I'll listen to you. Because the first thing you need from them is you need them to listen to you, right? Because you have to have a conversation. When you have a conversation with these teams, that is how you improve security at your company. Now, provide solutions. Don't just say, oh, this is wrong, right? The example that I gave earlier about a team was bypassing branch protections. What we did is we told them, okay, maybe you don't do that. Is there anything we can do? Can we have a bot account to do some of these actions for you? We'll add a bypass rule for this particular account. Something along those lines to not just provide a problem and be a blocker, but also provide a solution for them. This was the hard one that I learned, right? Security impact is not always equal to cross-team impact, right? And we're still solving this to this day. How are we effectively able to translate the security risk of bypassing, branch protections? How do we do that? You have to talk in their language. And if all else fails, escalate accordingly. Now, in this case, another example of the response steps just being at the end of the detection alert. Now, how do I add process complexity, right? Keep it as simple as possible for everyone else. Add the complexity for security, right? And the easiest thing to do is add whatever complexity you want to standard processes. Make sure the employees are used to what they're going to be seeing. Slack, they're used to Slack. Don't have them respond on a SIM. Don't create another account for them. Let them respond on Slack. Now, how do I properly respond versus react? This is a tough conversation. Sometimes reaction is okay, right? Sometimes you don't always have to close the loop, but it's really good to close the loop. If you close the loop, you improve that culture in your company. For any sort of detection tuning alerts, when you're actually being, proactively improving it, you can do it yourself. If you have something like a Sigma rule, you can add another exception. You can change some of these false positives. If it's a business process gap, that's where you actually have to make a case for it, right? You have to talk to the teams with the proposed solution. Now, if you missed all of that or you were asleep, fear not. As the image says on the right, top right, this is what you need to take a photo of. So I'm going to give everyone 10 seconds to take a photo of this. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Sorry, I'm running out of time. Not convinced about what I'm saying? Try before you buy, right? You don't believe me about, okay, this is how you build a detection pipeline. Here are some free solutions, right? Again, not sponsored at all. This is just something that you can get started for free in your own spare time before actually POCing it with your company. Run Reveal is a great open source SIM. Tracecat is an open source SOAR for automation. Sigma rules repo, as I said, there's a bunch of rules there. And if you want to know how to actually categorize and respond, the MITRE ATT&CK framework has helped me not just in this current role, but in my past role as well. The MITRE ATT&CK framework has been really, really good. So again, not convinced, as this dragon is trying on shoes in front of you, just try it, right? Now looking ahead, right? What do I want to do? Obviously there's new systems coming in, there's going to be new threat vectors. I want to make sure my pipeline is scalable, right? I do want to dabble a little bit in Gen AI solutions. I've seen some AI SOCs out there, and I want to know what they do so that can help me, right? Multi-level detection alerting is something we're navigating, we're figuring out how to correlate these alerts from multiple different sources and actually have a good response strategy there. And cross-training sister teams to have detection responsibilities. PR changes, right? I want someone in my infrastructure team to write a PR and change it themselves. Obviously, I will review it. That's the beauty of having kind of PRs, right? Like, you write code, I will review it. If it doesn't make sense, etc., I'll go back to it. But I want it to be more decentralized because they know their systems better than I know their systems. Again, this is the way the conversation goes in, right? You have to talk to them, but you need to use their experience and their guidance on how to tune your alerts. And obviously, if this excites you, come, let's talk, right? We are always going to be a very security forward shop at Lime and myself and my team member here. And maybe there's a chance for us to collaborate, right? Contribute in different groups. There's a great Slack channel for detection response. Definitely, if you want to join and you're interested, let me know. We can have a conversation. And if you're interested in helping out, let me know. Let's have a conversation. Here's, I think, the Slido and feedback QR code if you have any questions. But that's my talk. Do we want to go to Q&A right now, or do I have to open up a link?
All right, is there matter? Hey, thank you, Geet.
Thank you so much. Wonderful. Thank you, everyone.
So this is the point where we do questions. If you do have questions, it's best if you do it via Slido. So Slido is an app, slido.com. If you go into your phone right now or any device that you have and just simply type in the keyword BSidesSF 2025, that will get you into Slido. I don't currently have any questions registered. We'll give people time to do that. While we're doing that, I'm going to give some announcements here. Lunch starts promptly right at 12 and it goes until 1:30, and that's up on the 4th floor. in City View. Please know it does take some time to get up there. It is pretty crowded. So budget yourself time. You don't want to miss out. We also have a raffle running upstairs, and that is thanks to our lovely sponsors. Our sponsors here at B-Sides are really important to us. They sponsor us without any strings attached, which is amazing. So that raffle draw starts at 2:15 on both Saturday and Sunday. So to win, you must be present to draw. Of course, that's going to happen in the Lock Village in City View. We have headshots all day, sponsored by Opal. Headshots for your profile, LinkedIn, whatever you want to use it for. Really wonderful service that they're providing to us. And let's go check if there's any questions in Slido. If you're really shy, I don't even want to do that, maybe walk up to me and I'll just repeat the question.
Does anyone want to ask a question without Slido? I can't see, so you're going to have to yell it.
Don't be shy. No question is too silly or too small to answer.
Going once.
So the question is, when will we get the slides available?
That's a great question. I don't know the answer to that.
Unfortunately, I don't know either. I'm certain they'll be available on the website.
I will also say, I will post a part of these slides on my LinkedIn. I think that's a great idea, actually. Yeah, I'll do that. And my LinkedIn's connected to the SCED profile as well. So maybe not today or not, maybe after RSA, I'll remove a few of those weirdly exposing screenshots and then post that on my LinkedIn. So if you guys want to check it out, definitely do. And please, if you have any questions which you don't want to, have here and you want to talk about it, I'll be outside for a while, and connect with me on LinkedIn and we can chat. Yeah.
And will you also be available up in City View on the 4th floor where people generally hang out?
I will be. My schedule, I don't know if you can see my schedule on SCED, but I do want to attend a few of these sessions, but I will be hanging out upstairs as well. Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks again, everyone. Don't forget to go to lunch, enter into that raffle, and we appreciate you, and we'll hope to see you at the next talk.
Thank you so much.